Well, hello there. I'm present day Alex. It's currently April 24th, and I'd like to explain to you why this vlog is going to pick up from yesterday's vlog. If you watched yesterday's vlog, Jim and I sit on the couch that you see behind me talking about writing, and I had so much footage from that conversation that I could have easily made it one 15-minute long vlog. Instead, I decided to cut into two parts and use it for today's vlog, and you might say, well, that's cheating. You're not really vlogging today. And yet here I am on another day in April vlogging. So let's roll the clip and enjoy the second part of the conversation that in fact leads to a third video, which you'll see tomorrow. How do you take this and create a story?
I need to know what the script's for.
Okay, so Here we go. We're gonna put Jimmy on the spot right now. We're gonna create a story. Koa, give me a genre.
Horror.
Tiff, give me an action.
Jumping.
And what's a problem?
Not enough popcorn in the house.
Okay, so we have horror, jumping, and not enough popcorn in the house.
Well, that writes itself.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so first of all, we've got horror, so we need to have a problem that's based on these people need to be afraid of something. If we want to identify with a character, we need to make sure that whoever the everyman is, let's say you're playing the main character, you now have a problem. We can either decide that you're going to be man versus man, there's another person trying to hurt you, man versus nature, in which you are fighting against something like COVID, or man versus himself, which in our case would be the easiest one for you to do, in which you would have this seemingly tiny problem of not having popcorn when you want it. Maybe you're watching a horror movie and you don't have it. That all of a sudden becomes this bigger deal. So now we have to draw a reference from popcorn to something else. So it's simply a matter of jumping from one thing to another and ending up where we are. You were talking earlier about when you take something and you in magic and you go, okay, I want this effect, and I'm going to see how to get there. That's great. Writing often works that way, but the beauty of writing is it works in every direction at the same time. So right now, I'm looking at what we have at the beginning and working towards an end that makes sense.
Is this man versus nature, man versus himself? Is that a template that's already in your head?
Yes, it's one of the core foundations of writing is when you're doing conflict or plot, you have to have one of these three types. There's also man versus God, but realistically, that's also man versus nature, so you can just go that route.
Right now, we have a generation of people that are starting to create stories, and a lot of them, I've seen friends doing so well on TikTok, where you have 15 to 60 seconds to tell a story, and my gosh, are some of them hilarious. It's cool to me how fast your brain just went to, okay, so here's this, it's either this, or this. Okay, so what's next?
So now we need to pick one of them. For me, right now, I would go man versus himself. So right now, I'm looking at popcorn jumping. That just leads one to the other. The last thing of popcorn is on a high shelf and you have to jump up to get it. So we put it at a high place where it's out of reach. But how does that create horror? Because we're dealing with something that's going to be scary. So we need to start having this character start losing it, yourself in this case, start losing touch with reality based on something else that's happening. And this is just the icing on the cake. So let's say your character was getting ready to watch a movie in which you always watched with your brother. Your brother's passed away. So you're in the situation in which your brother's passed away, you're watching this movie, you do it every year on April 23rd. You decide, I'm going to watch this movie. You go to set this whole thing up because it's just kind of what you do. You take a phone call, we add a scene just to establish that your character is shutting everybody out on this day, where you get a call from your girlfriend or from somebody who says, come out and do this, and you say no. I'm not going to do that because I have this tradition that I have to do. You have to leave me alone. I have to do it. It's just my thing. You sit down to watch the movie. You go to make the popcorn. There's no popcorn. Why isn't the popcorn there? What we establish over the course of telling this very short story is you've moved the popcorn on yourself because you've split yourself into two people and you keep seeing your brother around the house, but he's never in the light, he's in the dark. So we use this sense of foreboding, a ghost is haunting you, the ghost of your brother's haunting you, something's coming after you, just to help you get over the fact that you don't need these traditions. You can create new ones because love still exists. And that's kind of our moral in the end. So one thing to another goes, it all comes down to popcorn. And in fact, that's the title of your piece. You like it?
That was pretty good.
Oh,
I like that.
Thank you.
All right, I've made some notes. I really hope you saw the process and how fast that process is. I think what might be interesting is tomorrow to film this piece.
Done.
And then post that as tomorrow's vlog.
Yeah, I'm in.
Cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's funny that with two people off camera, these words are just words that are completely inconsequential. And in a matter of minutes, it can actually create something powerful with enough emotional energy to move someone. And I think any point I sit down to write, I think unconsciously, it's never conscious, I think unconsciously, I'm trying to create movement in another person. I don't just write from a sedentary desk, even though I am very sedentary in writing. I'm very active in the sense of, I'm usually writing to one or two people, and I'm trying to predict how they're going to react to the next line, the next word, etc. I think it was Stephen King that said, the closest thing we have to time travel is a book.
Two things. The first thing is, to add to that, I think all art runs parallel to that. Because I think if you look anything from looking at a painting to watching a blockbuster Hollywood movie, at the end of the day, all art and all creativity can create that time travel kind of feeling. And the second thing is, I'm not sure if you noticed, but in making this, everything was about stimulation. So to take your character, I have to identify. So the character is you. So right now, all I had to do was, Tiff is sitting off camera. I had to look at Tiff and say, she is a huge impact on your life. She's a huge source of creativity for you, of energy for you. So how can I eliminate her from bringing a positivity to your character? And in doing so, I took something in the real world and went, if I stripped you of Tiff for a day, how would that affect you? So if you're going through this crisis, not the crisis of losing popcorn, but the crisis that we create on top of that, of this missing brother, how do I take your safety net away? Because a lot of writing, when it comes to putting conflict on somebody, is taking their safety nets away and explaining them rationally why they don't have them. So all I do is I strip you of all of your security, and now all of a sudden your character becomes vulnerable. We ourselves, if we were alone in the house, any of the four of us, we would suddenly be without safety nets. We would take on problems differently than if we had the support of the others.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just a little rant there, but that's how I did that.
Yeah, I love it. All right, let's end there.
Literally, my mind right now is going, how could I have made that better? Like, given the challenge of a short thing, and I'm like, I can do better.
Yeah, and that energy is one that, I brought this up with Cole earlier, paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
And I love that no matter how often we self-doubt or self-criticize or whatever, there comes a point where you go, yeah, it could have been. It always could be. Yeah. And there's geniuses in the world that I think create stuff, and you're like, how did you, like, how are you this good? But imagine what they feel like about their own work. Like, some of the best in the world are probably going, man, I could have done that better. Yeah. And that inspires me, because it's like, yeah, it could always be better. But that goes back to that whole point of the beginning, right? Where it just escapes. So, yeah, and I know it's going to grow between now and tomorrow, and I'm sorry to have left you with a false ending vlog, but here we are, because usually the most important stuff and the most entertaining stuff happens the second we strike the lights and turn off the camera. So we turn it back on, and here we are. We're crap, and we want to be better for you. Thanks for watching.